Yeah.
Before we resume, you said you wanted to voice Kylo Ren for the Star Wars reading down the line in 2027.
If we don't have anyone else in doing that.
Down in 2099.
Yeah, if we don't have anyone else volunteering for that, I wouldn't mind.
Okay, then if it's down to you and Tanner, then I'll lock you two in a
You're-
room and you guys can fight for it.
Oh fuck! You are gonna beat my ass. If you hit my back with a feather duster, my spine would break.
I mean, I'm not really that sturdy myself, honestly.
Bro, I'm a twig. I'm the offspring of a spaghetti noodle and a piece of string.
Okay,
Oh,
it
gosh.
should be live again. I mean, if it comes down to it, we can just go like halfway today or something. I don't know.
You just make Kylo Ren a schizophrenic who has two different voices, which, I mean, he is kind of crazy. So
I think she meant halfway with this chapter, but
Yeah.
Okay.
having you two voice that could be potentially interesting.
Yeah, we can try going as much as we can, but if OBS keeps on killing itself, then I don't know what to do.
maybe we could restart and do it again some other time.
Yeah,
If we absolutely must.
I'll give it. Yeah, I did restart. I am streaming again, by the way.
Hello, everyone. We meant no harm to those who actually suffer from schizophrenia.
Yeah.
We apologize for that.
Yeah, I feel like if OBS ends up freaking out again, we should just do it another time. But otherwise, we should.
Are you sure we're not the schizophrenic ones here? Just imagining we have an audience when we really don't. Are you sure we're not on some Don Quixote shit?
I'm not sure that's how schizophrenia works, but our audience is imaginary, yes.
Alright.
Is Nova here?
Yes.
Okay.
I killed him.
To his regret. Well, then I guess I was lying. Okay, hi, Nova.
I will tell you, and I said it again, switching between narrator and Nico is really difficult.
That's fair, I'd imagine.
Because with
Not
the
that I
narrator,
ever...
I'm going-
Go on.
Because the narrator, I'm trying to go for a really reserved, kind of serious tone, and Nico, I'm going for Nico.
That's understandable. What was I gonna say? Not that I ever follow my own advice, but... Yeah, just... like, feel free to just take your time and read the whole sentence, all the sentences before you speak the lines out. Again, not that I ever do that, but...
Alrighty.
And like I can take over narration because Umi and narrator voice are not the same, but they're generally low key.
You wanna take over you or Nova? Because, I mean, I am having an alright time, but... whatever works.
I will take over.
I mean, do whatever. Do you want me to do it? You to do it?
I mean, it's up to you guys.
Harry should do it.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, where were we?
Do I want to test my abilities as an actor and do it, or do I want you to do it? Should I validate my own ego, or just let someone else do it?
You mean a validation of your ego or reading the script? We are hilarious.
Top 10 Funnymans. Number 9. We skipped number 10. I just skipped 10. Top 10 Funnymans. Number 10. No one is funny. Alright.
Yeah, where were we? Yes. Yeah, of course it is. Isn't that the best way to get an answer? When Nico was met with more silence, she let go of a long sigh that could have been a groan had it been in a more private place.
What? Hold on, I gotta catch my brain up to where we're reading. Oh, okay. This happened last time I tried to ask you too. Something's up.
If you know that, you shouldn't be so adamant about asking Umi-chan, Nozomi pointed out. Nico did not budge.
It bothers me that we can't talk about it. You can trust us. You know this.
She said this to Umi, and all of them turned towards her for Pete's sake, turned towards her at once. Umi resisted the urge to avoid all of their gazes. Nico had a point. And as Umi considered the events 2 years prior, she realized that it might be better for the truth to be out there. It had been for Pete's sake, it had been so long.
Back over here? Because I can.
We can switch every sentence and we will make this work.
Fuck no. I mean, we could do that.
Highest standards of professionalism here on this show. Highest standards.
I agree to be here.
You're darn right. You are here voluntarily, and never forget that.
Yep. Alright.
It had been so long, and she might actually be able to glean some advice for her tenuous situation from someone other than Kotori. There's nothing wrong with Kotori's opinion in the first place, but of course, her long-standing fears were still in effect here. They could all hate her after hearing what she did, a perfectly understandable reaction. But if that meant Honoka would receive more sympathy for her past and current situation, then it was worth the risk. Kind of shameful how it took her almost 2 years to realize that. Okay, I'll tell you.
Wait,
She
seriously?
declared.
Sorry.
Hold on. Okay. Okay, I'll tell you. She declared, staring into her coffee.
No, wait, seriously?
Are you sure?
Don't feel pressured by Nico-chan.
Umi looked up to her three friends staring her down. Nico in particular looked like she was about to leap over the table and punch her. No. Nico in particular looked like she was about to leap over the table. What's with those reactions? She asked, feeling a little pinned down by their intense gazes. Don't tell me you already know something. Everyone looked away at once, suddenly intrigued by her coffee, her part of the table, her apron. Wait, that Nico or Umi? Was that supposed to be Nico or Umi?
I don't know.
I think that was supposed to be Nico, but...
Saying what?
Huh. Don't tell me you already know something, maybe?
I don't know.
Wait, I get it. Everyone, the other three girls were intrigued by their respective things, so, I don't know, Maki's coffee, Nozomi's table, Nico's apron.
Okay.
Alright. This is what happens when you don't read the story ahead of time, kids. Yeah, Tanner, I'm gonna probably take your advice into consideration. It's the policy that we were supposed to have anyways.
But you want me to just take over narration here? I actually was having quite a bit of fun with it.
Go ahead.
Everyone looked away at once, suddenly intrigued by her coffee. Her part of the table.
You cut out a bit at the end. Can you like go through the short list one more time? Well,
Anyone else?
Not exactly, but
Umi's suspicion grew. She sat back and waited for someone to respond. Finally, Nozomi looked her in the eye.
we might have assumed that there was something keeping you away from us.
She admitted.
On top of the usual college stuff, making new friends and all that. Is everything okay, Tanner?
That was on my end. Jesus
This is a
fucking Christ.
This is a bad omen. I can feel it.
I know it's bad for us to talk behind your back like that, Nico added. We tried not to draw any solid conclusions without knowing anything, but
it's like what I told you on the train. I'm not excusing what we did, but it's pretty hard not to talk about you.
Maki said. She didn't seem too apologetic, but perhaps she didn't have to be. Umi took in their apparent concern.
You deserve to know. So there was something.
Nozomi had long since dropped her teasing ways after the conversation turned serious, and Umi was grateful for that. This was a good, honest group to talk about this, she supposed.
Yes, something happened. Something happened the day I left, and it's mostly why I haven't come back until now.
Was it that bad? Nico raised an eyebrow, seemingly not convinced. Umi nodded grimly.
It was pretty bad.
Her two seniors exchanged a glance. You know, as long as you didn't kill or torture anyone, I'm pretty sure we could let you off the hook, the shorter girl said.
Well,
Umi suddenly took an interest in her coffee.
I didn't. Physically, I didn't.
Nico leaned back in her chair, her face twisting into a grimace. I do not like how you answered that.
Do you still want to hear it?
After a moment of deliberation, Nico replied, Well, it's better than making assumptions. Umi nodded slowly.
Okay.
She blew on her coffee, trying to ignore the expectant gazes from her friends.
Before I start, I want to warn you. You might hate after hearing this.
Oh my god, you're killing me with this build-up, Umi. She shrugged.
I'm essentially the villain here. There's no other way that I can see it.
Oh, we'll be the judge of that. Nico waved her hands, interrupting Umi's introduction. Can you get on with it? She placed her elbows on the table.
You need time to recollect.
Maki asked her.
Unfortunately not. I still remember it as though it happened yesterday.
Umi let out a humorless chuckle, and her expression darkening.
We might be here for a while if I we might be here for a while if I tell the whole story though. How long is your break?
The shorter girl shrugged. It's not peak hours, but I'll keep an eye out, so don't worry about that. Umi took a deep breath.
Alright. It started the day before I left. All of the...
Are you disconnected or something?
I said all of the, and then it just kind of trails off to the flashback.
Oh, do you want me to still do the, Okay. All of the preparations had been made. Luggage was packed, and appliances were readied for the new apartment. The only thing left for Umi to do was to say goodbye. That and, at the very least, try to catch a wink of sleep before the moment arrived. She hadn't expected this day to come so soon, but it was only willful ignorance that prevented her from seeing just how little time she'd really had. The shopping, the paperwork, the university's orientation, the signing up for classes, all of it came and went in the blink of an eye. In addition, she'd spent almost half of all her free time with her friends and family, and she had virtually none of those fleeting days to herself. In this way, she now stood in front of the train station with her two closest friends, a looming prelude to what she herself would have to do tomorrow. She'd already known that her last day here would be spent with Hanukkah and Kotori, the latter of whom was also trying to make the most of their limited time together. After all, Kotori was leaving today. Oh, don't cry, okay, Kotori? Sorry, I'm bad at reading Japanese. Okay, Kotori-chan? Hanukkah pulled her into a tight hung. Jesus, hug. We promise not to cry! To her credit, Kotori showed no signs of discomfort, despite being the target of such a determined embrace.
You're the... Oh, gosh. You're the one who's about to cry, Hanukkah-chan!
Me? No way! Hanukkah stepped back, and Umi saw that Kotori was right. The girl hadn't smiled since they left for the train station. Her eyes weren't watery, but Umi figured it wouldn't take long for the waterworks to start. She hoped Hanukkah could hold out. Was all this happening so soon? So fast? Apparently so. Kotori herself spotted her usual smile, sported her usual smile, but it was a little more forced than normal. Spending her whole life around these girls allowed Umi to tune into these sorts of things. I'm not crying! Hanukkah was adamant. It was just cold! She was right. April was often one of the most pleasant months of the year. But today the chills of winter were still heard and felt all over Japan. Hanukkah's choice of apparel for today, casual wear complete with a thin jacket, didn't help either. Whether it was the cold or the melancholy, Hanukkah's face was quite red. I'm pronouncing it Hanukkah. Kotori giggled and put her into another hug.
It's okay to... Oh, gosh. It's okay to cry if you need to.
Like I said, I'm not... Hanukkah seemed to relent after Kotori embraced her. You'll visit soon, right?
I'll try my best. Maybe even before summer break? Maybe even before summer break?
You better!
It'll go by before you know it.
She released Hanukkah and turned to Umi, who had been watching from a few feet away.
Don't be so stiff.
No.
Don't be so stiff, Umi-chan. Come over here.
She hadn't realized, and she'd so quietly obliged by walking over. Kotori wasted no time in hugging her.
Take care, Umi-chan. You too.
Wait for me! The sight of them must have awakened something in Hanukkah, because she came barreling forward and crashing into the pair, almost knocking them off their feet.
Sorry, yawning. Hey, wait, Hanukkah! You already got your turn. You already got your... Oh, gosh. We need more cast members.
This is really... Should we just stop this episode?
No, we're in too deep. You already got your turn, Hanukkah-chan.
Kotori teased. Hanukkah only giggled and wrapped her arms around the two as best she could. Umi was relieved to see that her almost carefree smile had returned.
Okay, I'm happy you two love me so much, but I really have to go now.
They stepped back from one another. Hanukkah rubbed the back of her head, her smile now sheepish. Umi couldn't help but smile a little herself. Good luck! Hanukkah said. She stepped forward, and Umi thought she'd have to restrain her from lunging at Katori for another hug. But she didn't act beyond that.
Don't be afraid to call or message us if you need anything.
Katori nodded, hoisting her purse over her shoulder and gripping her single, albeit overstuffed, bag of luggage.
Likewise.
Then, she turned, ran her cards across the scanner, and slipped through the open gate, her bag in tow. With a final glance at back and a warm smile, she turned around and was soon swept up by the early afternoon crowd. The two watched her leave. So... Hanukkah said. Umi glanced at her and saw a resigned smile on her face. That's it, huh?
Don't say it like it's so final.
Umi frowned, nudging Hanukkah with her elbow.
Didn't she just say that? Didn't she just say that she'll be back after the first term is over, or perhaps even before that?
I guess so. Yeah. I guess so. Hanukkah looked around and seemed to notice the sea of people that were forced apart around the two of them. We should get going. He shrunk back as one particularly grumpy-looking businessman shot her a glare in his attempt to wedge past her.
You're right.
Umi flushed in a similar manner. Standing still in the middle of a train station was the equivalent of a grievous sin after all.
Let's go.
Outside, the rush of constant people was less suffocating. Albeit no less constant. Yes, I added words. My brain is reading these fast. This is not a good episode.
Fine, keep going.
Umi leaned against the wall and stopped for a breather, mindful enough to not disrupt the flow of walking traffic. Next to her, Hanukkah did the same, and for a few moments the two silently let the crowds pass in front of them. Now that Katori-chan's gone, it's finally starting to hit me, Hanukkah murmured as she scuffed at the ground with her sneaker.
Me too.
Umi had to agree.
Are you sure?
I can only imagine how different our lives are going to be starting tomorrow.
You two, maybe. If Hanukkah's response wasn't delivered with a smirk and a chuckle, it would have sounded awfully bitter.
The same goes for you, Hanukkah.
Are you sure?
Umi smiled playfully, then added,
Sure?
I won't be around to clean up your messes anymore.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
Already.
You don't... Hanukkah crossed her arms and gave Umi a smirk that exuded confidence. It's already been 3 days since I made that chili pepper manju.
Welcome back, Mega Man.
Is that supposed to reassure me?
Umi shuddered. The mere mention of that accursed recipe brought painful memories back to her mind. She'd probably lost a couple hundred taste buds in sampling Hanukkah's most experimental venture.
Sure this is what you want, buddy?
Of course! Yukio told me it's the worst thing she's ever tasted! Which, means that it can only go up from there.
Alright, Hanukkah.
Okay, Mega.
Umi smiled, amused.
Can I interest you in some parts?
She wasn't convinced, but she did have to credit her friend's enduring optimism.
Sure this is what you want, buddy?
You might put...
You have it.
I'm sorry.
What'll it be?
It's fine. You might put your bakery out of business if you try... Excuse me. You might put your bakery out of business if you tried to sell chili manju.
She added.
And for the record, I agree with Yukio.
Hanukkah shrugged. She'd given up on that recipe. thankfully. Some hope in me, will ya?
Of course. That's what friends do.
Silence settled on the two. Umi didn't feel the need to elaborate or continue. This situation wasn't new to either of them, especially not in the last few months. Up until then, Hanako was usually the driving force behind their conversation, either steering them into uncharted territory or going on and on about this and that. Umi didn't mind, of course. She hated to call it chatter, but that was sometimes the best way to describe the verbal manifestation of Hanaka's boundless optimism. A break from that once in a while couldn't hurt, Umi supposed. Besides, sometimes Hanako would say something, and Umi would be reminded that her childhood friend's mind wasn't always concerned with bread, idols, with Muse, with scalping by on that next quiz. Sometimes Umi would be reminded why she always had been so drawn to this girl. Oh, is that me?
I'm going through it right now. I think it's Honoka.
Hey, do you think Katori-chan had any regrets? Speak of the devil. She paused when she realized that she wasn't confident in her answer.
I don't know. Why didn't you ask her?
I just thought about it, and it's too late to ask her now.
You could text her.
Yeah, I could, but I'd feel more comfortable if I asked her in person, maybe. Maybe? Fuck. Umi mulled over her response. Hanaka's eyes were elsewhere, which allowed Umi to observe her freely. Do you think she has regrets?
I think that was me speaking.
Yeah. Okay, wow, this is probably the worst episode.
I mean, there was that one episode when we were reading my story and we just kept on dropping and having audio cut out.
Yeah.
That was fun. Do you think she has regrets?
Yeah, doesn't everyone? Umi bit her lip in thought.
I don't have any.
Really? Hanaka turned towards her, and their gazes finally met. Her eyes were wide with genuine surprise. Umi nodded.
I've made plenty of mistakes, of course, but without them, I wouldn't be who I am today.
Hanaka's look of surprise remained for a moment longer, before she burst out laughing. So like you, Umi-chan.
I don't see what's so funny.
Umi averted her eyes. She flushed red, wondering if her answer had been inappropriate in some way. Oh, nothing! Hanaka calmed down, although her shoulders still shook with the occasional jiggle. I just don't know why I thought you'd say anything else.
Shook with the occasional giggle.
Giggle. Jesus. Umi could only shrug, considering the accuracy of that statement.
Well, what about...
Sorry, I'm off today.
Fine. Well, what about you? Do you have any regrets?
Hanako was looking at her curiously. Her eyes were narrowed slightly, and the small little smile that she wore along with it was a little unnerving to Umi. Yeah, I do. She paused. They silently held each other's gazes until Umi found it way too intense. And she looked away. Like what? You know what?
That was me also. Like what? Actually, wait. Yeah, that would be me. Like what?
You know what? It's not important. Umi frowned. In any other situation, she would have pressed for more information. It wasn't exactly fair for Hanukkah to bring up such a personal topic, only to dodge the issue when it was directed back at her. But now that Hanukkah had withdrawn back into herself, pushing her for a real answer would only prove frustrating and unfruitful. Umi dropped the subject with a resigned, okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
It's fine.
Hanukkah gave her a wide smile, which wasn't entirely convincing. Wanna stay the night at my place?
That's what we planned. That's what we planned.
Oh yeah, just making sure. Oh, but we can talk about you, but we can't talk about you leaving.
Why?
Just like that, Hanukkah had buried her odd behavior from just seconds ago. It would be inappropriate to bring it up now.
Aaron, did you skip a line or did I just not hear you?
I think I said all. Oh no, I skipped.
Let's, hold on, let me just do my line quickly. Why?
There's no point. Let's just try to enjoy ourselves, okay?
First one to bring it up owes the other person something. Just like that, Hanukkah had buried her odd behavior from just seconds ago. It would be inappropriate to bring it up now.
Okay.
Umi forced herself to smile, thinking it would be the best way to get in the mood that Hanukkah was pushing for.
I'll come over. I'll come over after dinner.
Woo!
Alright, and we're back in present time. I didn't think anything. Excuse me. I didn't think anything was too out of the ordinary.
Umi said. She drowned part of her coffee and tried to convince herself that she didn't need an additional sweetener.
The fact that, the fact that, the fact that the three of us, the words, for Pete's sake, the fact that the three of us would be separated for the first time in our lives was finally starting to sink in for me, and I assumed that Honoka felt the same way.
The girls had leaned in considerably since their coffees and pastries untouched. But there was something out of the ordinary? Nico asked, her hands balled into fists. Umi frowned, looking disapprovingly at each of her friends in turn.
It would be nice if you didn't act so excited to listen. I don't take much pleasure in talking about this.
Her frown deepened as she briefly considered just how much of that day's remaining events should be disclosed. Nozomi pushed her lips in a tight, apologetic smile.
Sorry.
She leaned back in her chair and gripped Nico's shoulder as she did so, forcing her to do the same. This prompted a glare from the other girl, which was ignored.
It's hard not to make any definite assumptions for 2 years, that's all.
Oh.
Well, like I said, the truth won't be very pleasant.
Nico wasn't about to let Nozomi hold her back. She leaned in again. Whatever! I just need to know if I should judge you or not. God.
She's amazing, I love her. So you'll judge me if you deem it fit to do so.
Ah! You knew that going in. Suddenly, Umi was reminded of the potential wrath Nico could bring down on her. That part of her certainly hadn't changed, it seemed. But she was right. The story couldn't end here. She took another deep breath.
I agreed to spend the night at Honoka's house, but before that, I went home. Before that, I went home since my parents wanted. Oh my gosh. La 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 la. I agreed to spend a night at Honoka's house, but before that, I went home since my parents wanted to take me out for one last dinner. They let me go after that, and I packed a toothbrush and a change of clothes for the night.
Short goodbye to her parents. She heaved her backpack onto her shoulders and began the brief walk to Hanukkah's house.
She didn't have to wait long at the front door. Hanukkah answered promptly.
Still wearing the same clothes from a few hours earlier. Ready? She asked, her expression bright and expectant.
Ready for ready for what?
For the best night of your life! Hanukkah grabbed her hand and pulled her in. We're gonna stay up all night. Got it?
I'm getting like DuckTales 2017 Dewey energy from you right now. Ooh, dropped. Was that me? Did I drop?
Yeah, was that a good thing, a bad thing?
I can hear both of you fine.
No, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just Dewey has that kind of... He's a party bro. At least on the outside.
He's a party dude.
You know, after this is over, I think we need to talk about improving some things with this show.
Oh gosh. Constructive criticism, my worst enemy.
Okay, Mega.
You're a killer.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
All ready. Are you sure? Ta-da! All ready. Are you sure?
What is the 12th episode? We're still in the workshopping phase, and we always will, because life is one big workshop, but...
Yeah, you're never
Yeah.
gonna be perfect.
We haven't quite shaken off the rustiest rust yet.
Uh-huh. Started to slip out of her shoe. Is that a good idea? Did you say that?
I did not. Pardon me. Is that a good idea?
She started to slip out of her shoes. Hanukkah's house is warm and comforting, both figuratively and literally.
I'm not supposed to leave until noon, but...
Of course, you want to make the most out of your time here until you leave, right?
That goes without saying. So with that in mind, what do you want to do? I sound so bored.
Umi asked at the foot of the stairwell. She was rummaging through her bag for her toothbrush, and as such, didn't see how Hanukkah had paused on the first step. She walked headfirst into her friend's still figure. I don't know. Hanukkah turned around with a strange smile plastered on her face. I was hoping you'd have an idea. Umi halted the search for her toothbrush.
You invited me over without any plans?
Yep. You know what they say. Hanukkah looked at her with hopeful eyes, as if she expected to glean her intended meaning from that cliche. As if she expected Umi to glean her intended meaning.
Unfortunately, Umi didn't quite follow.
What do they say exactly?
That spending time with with people you love is more important than motherfucker.
Yes, it is more important than doing that to your mother.
It is more important than being Oedipus. That spending time with the people you love is more important than what you do with that time, right?
Do they say that? Do they say that? It doesn't exactly roll off the tongue.
Umi had to resist the urge to laugh. Don't they? Hanukkah suddenly sounded a lot less certain. It is true, though, isn't it? Umi tilted her head, but in the end she decided this wasn't worth arguing about.
You're right.
She said, laughing.
I'll see what I can come up with.
Yay! This was their night, after all. No point in worrying about trivial things like plans or accurate
Aphorisms, I think.
aphorisms. You're really pale. This time, Nico's voice jarred Umi out of that warm, ethereal scene.
Am I?
She reached up and ran a hand down the side of her face. It was cold.
I'm sorry.
Are you sure you want to keep going? If it's... Nico looked at her dubiously. If it's affecting you this much, it's fine if...
No, I'm going to finish.
This is just us recording this episode right now. Again, I have some suggestions and things we can do to improve this. And
Why is it that when the stories got better, our acting got worse?
Especially, you know what? It's upsetting because I'm still trying to ride that high of that night I did really well as Nico.
That was a good night. Nico doesn't get many opportunities to be like just funny on her own because this isn't really a comedy story.
Alright. You know what? I would say stop this, but we've come too far. But I will say, you know, show must go on, but I will say we need to talk about some stuff after this.
Yes, Father.
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, it doesn't help that OBS was being a complete twat earlier.
Yeah. And some of these are mistakes I've made.
Anna, your narration is fine for someone who did not get a chance to read it and was basically called into a recording on short notice. Like, don't beat yourself up over it.
Alright.
We're making better time than we would if I were reading it.
Alright.
And what the heck is going on in Harry's game right now? What is this robot toy frog doing?
Alright, let's keep going. Where are we?
No, I'm going to finish. She brought her hand down on the table.
Which didn't change Nico's expression. After a moment, though, her face softened a bit. Alright, whenever you're ready. The other two nodded. Umi finished what was left of her coffee. It didn't go down so well cold.
I don't exactly remember everything we did that night. It was mostly comprised of typical sleepover activities. We went over what I'd studied in college and how I felt about it. Remembered some amusing times from Muse and from elsewhere. That sort of thing. For most of the night, we stuck to Honoka's promise. We successfully avoided talking about the next day's departure.
Successful. Okay, then, halfway through a youth-oriented fantasy movie... Gross. Umi found herself losing interest. Understandable. There was nothing wrong with the movie, but her curiosity shifted to the girl sitting next to her. Hanako was still thoroughly engaged with the film, and so she didn't notice how Umi had started to stare. It took her minutes to realize that she was the only one still paying attention to the movie. She turned, and when she saw Umi's expression, the cheeriness on her face vanished. Umi saw her opportunity.
It's about tomorrow.
Hanaka's reaction was strong and instant. Her mouth screwed up into a pout. Umi-chan, you promised we wouldn't!
Sorry. No, wait, I'm not even supposed to be that sorry. Sorry.
Since she wasn't all that sorry.
Oh my gosh. I just feel like that's somewhat unfair.
And why is that?
Feels like we're avoiding. It feels like we're avoiding the topic.
Isn't that a good thing? Hanukkah tried, with only a shadow of optimism.
Maybe not. You've been acting like this is. Excuse me. You've been acting like this is. You've been acting like this is the last time we'll be together.
Umi said.
You don't need to.
I know, but don't you think it kinda is the last time in a way? That was a little foreboding. Umi looked down, fiddling with her hands.
In what way?
Like, when you two come back, you might already be different. She saw Umi move to respond, and she quickly continued. Doesn't that happen to people? Going away to college changes them? You could chop your hair off, or join a motorcycle gang, or start talking in a different dialect.
I think that's more of a cliche than anything.
Umi mused. She tried to imagine herself with short hair and a rebellious glare to match, but she still couldn't fully picture it without breaking into a smile. Yeah, but maybe it's a cliche for a reason. Umi turned, surprised at the perceptiveness in that comment alone. Hanukkah met her gaze with a seriousness that she hadn't seen since earlier that afternoon at the train station. So, you've been thinking about this a lot.
I think that was me. So you have been thinking. Excuse me. See, it would have been better to just read it instead of me. So you have been thinking about this a lot.
Embarrassed smile tugged at one corner of Hanukkah's mouth. But
Well, it's not a guarantee that. Pardon me. Well, it's not a guarantee that I'll change that much. I might get along with my classmates and join a club, but I can't see those things changing me so drastically in only 3 months. In only 3 months.
that's true. That's true. Hanukkah seemed to mutter the phrase amongst herself and Umi. Not that this is the last time I'll get to have you for myself. What?
Reread a sentence again, please.
It's more that this is the last time that I'll have you to myself.
What do you mean?
Hanukkah fidgeted. Fuck!
But then
Don't know.
You want me to take over narration again?
yes. I think I can do that. Some actors are talented enough to do this. I am not one of them, but they can switch between characters on the fly. I am not one of those actors. I wish I was, but I'm not.
Well, kids, we had an actually coherent narrator for like 30 minutes, and now we're back to me, so... This is a loss for America. That was the second time that day that Hanukkah... Excuse me. That was the second time that day Hanukkah had said something unlike her and refused to elaborate. Was something on her mind? Even if there was, Hanukkah had already clammed up already. For the second time that day, Umi just had to accept it. Though it was frustrating for Pete's sake. Though it was frustrating to do so, she could only return the shrug and say, I understand you're worried, but... She paused. Tanner, it's your line.
Oh shit, I was not close enough to the mic. This is a good episode. But what?
Don't be worried.
Is this really all she had? Not exactly the best reassurance. I'm now the narrator again, apparently.
Every line, let's do this.
Okay.
Honoka realized it too as she started to giggle.
Wow. The well-spoken Umi-chan's at a loss for words. Probably because her voice actor keeps stuttering, and so does mine. Alright, that joke failed. I'm learning new things about you, even now.
Sorry, for Pete's sake. Sorry to disappoint you.
Hey, we've got a
I
slogan
sounded-
for story time with Scrappy now.
You know what? Kiss my ass. Sorry to disappoint you.
Umi looked
And we looked away, flushed.
Bad thing. Hanukkah paused the movie. Umi hadn't realized it was still playing and sprang up. It's getting kind of late, so I'm gonna take a bath first, if you don't mind.
Go ahead, I'll go after you.
Hanukkah shut the door behind her, leaving Umi alone in her room. As soon as she was alone, Umi shook her head and sighed.
Don't be worried. Seriously, what is that?
Umi stepped out of the bathroom, wearing her pajamas and a towel around her neck. The stream followed her out, and she noticed that the door to Hanukkah's room was curiously shut. As she approached, however, the light from inside her room poked out of the gap at the bottom of the door. She opened it slowly.
Honoka, did you fall asleep already?
She peeked inside when no response came. Hanukkah sat in the same position that she'd taken when Umi left, seated on the floor where the side of her bed served as her backrest. She faced away from the door, and her shoulders rose and fell gently as Umi watched.
Still, it's still early.
Umi murmured to herself, laughing quietly. When Hanukkah didn't move, she switched off the light. She could still see Hanukkah's figure.
Didn't you say that you wanted to stay up longer? Oh, for Pete's sake! Hold on. Didn't you say that you wanted to stay up longer than this?
With a resigned yet content sigh.
She draped her towel on the nearby desk chair and stepped over to the bedside.
Playtime's over.
This is just like you, though.
Wait, I think that was me. This is just like you, though.
She popped herself down next to her friends and leaned back, letting her still damp hair spray across the bed sheets. Why was it only now that she was in a talking mood?
I'm sorry that I'm only telling you this when you're asleep, but maybe that's for the best. It's a lot. Wait.
Can't stop. Oh, that's you.
Actually, who's speak? Is this all her?
I know. Okay.
I think that's all.
What's
Umi.
the line?
Harry, what happened now?
No, I was asking like, what were the lines?
I'm sorry that I'm only telling you this when you're asleep, and it's like just for.
Oh, I'm pretty sure that's all Umi.
That is an odd way to, odd I say, but it's a bit unusual to format it like this.
Welcome back, Mega Man.
What do you
Like
mean?
the first sentence doesn't even have an end quotation, so
Oh, right.
yeah, it's like the worst when you're. Oh gosh, I don't want to sound mean about this, but the Ottermelon might actually be formatting this correctly. I just don't know how. I just don't know.
Yeah, I know the type of thing you're talking about. That does confuse me sometimes too when people do that.
When you've had grammar hammered into your head for years on end, when someone doesn't follow the quote-unquote rules, it can throw you off. Especially when you don't perform the due diligence to read the script ahead of time.
Messing with the formula.
Alright, let me try that one more time. I'm sorry that I'm only telling you this when you're asleep, but maybe that's for the best. It's a lot. I can't stop thinking about what you said, about how this is the last time. I can see why you didn't want to talk about it. It's scary to think of how different we might be the next time we see each other. Excuse me. To tell you the truth, I didn't want to think about it either. I might be even better at it than you, since I haven't thought about it much at all. Maybe I just haven't had the time to. I mean, the last year's gone by so fast. I was constantly studying for exams, getting caught up in club activities and school trips. And before I knew it, we were walking through those gates for the last time. In a way, it still feels like Muse just ended, and everything after that was just an addendum.
She flushed, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear.
That's not to say that our last year of high school was dull, it's hard to compare anything to Muse. You know that too. Especially now that we're leaving.
You never really told me how you feel about that. How you really feel. You kept deflecting it back onto me, saying you'd be happy if I were to. Oh, damn it! That's not me.
Oh gosh, like this is... See, it's just throwing him off too. Alright, it's fine. It's fine. You never... Oh gosh, yeah, Tanner, I'm gonna have some feedback with your feedback when this is over. 'Cause, yeah, we have things to discuss.
Yeah, this is becoming a problem.
You never told me how you feel about that. How you really feel. You kept thing it back from me, saying you'd be happy if I were too. I can't blame you. We haven't had much time. Excuse me. We haven't had much time to talk about it either. Maybe we always assumed this would happen someday, and we'd accepted it long ago. If you don't want me to go, I wish you'd tell me. Now's the time to say it. Now's the time to say it. It won't change anything, but...
She reached out and ran a careful hand through Hanaka's hair.
Wait, where are you?
No, I'm here.
Umi sighed. She regarded Hanaka's,
She regarded Hanaka's sleeping figure for a moment. Her back was turned, and she gave no indicator that she has heard any of that. Of course she wouldn't. She was asleep. Umi felt a twinge of dishonesty. As though she was cheating Hanaka by not letting her hear her true fears. Maybe this was a bit selfish of her. She would be lying if she claimed this wasn't cathartic to an extent. She could feel her shoulders relaxing already, even though her heart still thumped loudly in her chest.
I still can't believe that I'm leaving tomorrow.
I feel like I should be more nervous
Wait, hold on. I still can't believe that I'm leaving tomorrow.
Her voice hardly...
Maybe it won't really hit me until I'm on that train alone. I feel like I should be more nervous about myself. Since it's my first time away from home and from everyone I know. And I am, but...
She and ran a careful hand through Hanaka's hair, tucking some of it behind her ear.
But I'm more worried about you. In a way, you might be glad to know that I'm gone. You won't have to put up with my lectures. Then again, Yukiho might pick up.
Never keep going.
Sorry. Then again, Yukiho might pick up the slack for me. I kind of hope she won't, since we're at that age where we shouldn't have to monitor monitor each other like that. But, well, there might be a small part of me that hopes she will. Old habits die hard, I suppose. Earlier, when you asked how I could relate to your worries, I didn't have an answer, but I think I do now. I think that's all we can do. Worry. Because it's different when I know I can't see you whenever I want. Ay,
She stopped. It all sounded so bleak, even though she didn't exactly mean it that way.
we'll get used to our new lives. We have to.
That wasn't helping. Umi buried her face in her hands and groaned, quietly so as not to disturb her sleeping friend. Even now, she wasn't able to learn from Hanukkah and see the good in things. Even when she tried, she shook her head and tried again.
It's silly to feel it's silly to feel this way, since I'll try to visit often. You'll probably be the same as always.
Paused.
Will. Oh, wait, I wasn't done. Will probably be the same as always.
But what if we're not? That's you, sorry. Oh wait, that is me.
That was you.
This really was the last time they'd be able to do this. The next time they meet, it would be with the additional implications of their gradual transitions into adulthood. All of these idle days and idle days alike, clever, that made up their shared youth would be reduced to nostalgic memories over late morning coffee. They were moving on to better things.
Gosh, this is depressing.
Yeah. She squeezed her eyes. Was that what she really wanted? She squeezed her eyes shut. Her next words came out unsure and shaky. Just like most of my deliveries right now. There was supposed to be a reassurance, but she couldn't even bring herself to believe them.
If we're not, I think that's fine too.
Umi heard a quiet gasp. It wasn't her own. She opened her eyes and was met with the soft shimmer of Hanukkah's. Her mouth was slightly opened. Heat rushed to Umi's face.
I thought you were asleep.
Hanukkah shook her head but said nothing.
How much of that did you hear?
All of it.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Again, Hanukkah said nothing. She simply stared. Umi couldn't look away as much as she wanted to. It might have been easy for her to start laughing, to brush her speech off and claim that it violated their agreement in front of the train station. Then they'd be able to move on to a better topic, or better yet, call it a night and avoid any more of these situations. Instead, she sat there, captivated, almost terrified, hyper-aware of what Hanukkah would do next. This wasn't like those comfortable silences that Umi had grown accustomed to. No, this silence was daunting. Yet at the same time, it was tenuous. The result of too many feelings that Umi now wished she had unsaid. They sat there, staring and standing on a string stretched too tight. Either the weight of the silence would collapse beneath them, or one of them would take the leap themselves. The end result would be the same. I don't want you to go. Hanukkah took the leap. Do you know why I never said that?
Why?
Because it won't change anything. You're right. I have to accept it. I just haven't accepted it yet. As her face shifted, the moonlight caught a glimmer rushing down her cheek.
Hanukkah.
Umi closed a small distance between them and brought her hand up to Hanukkah's cheek. When she brushed one tear away, another one took its place. So she cupped the sides of Hanukkah's face and used her thumb instead.
This is what happens when you keep those feelings all This is what happens when you keep those feelings all bottled up like that.
She murmured. Hanukkah offered no resistance. She reached for Umi's other hand and, upon finding it, interlocked their fingers.
It's not the first time.
Welcome back, Mega Man.
Her voice was almost strangled.
I know.
In the moonlight, Umi could see Hanaka's eyes on her. She seemed content just to watch, and Umi was okay with that. It was understandably difficult for her to talk at the moment. But after a few moments, Hanaka replied with a strangely unconvincing, "Yeah, I guess you do." Umi paused. Her hand was already quite damp, and as a result of her stopping, the tears simply rolled over the edge of her thumb on the way down. Hanaka's tone was odd. Were they referring to the same thing? She couldn't tell. The room was still coated in darkness, and even though her eyes had long since adjusted, she wasn't able to see what Hanaka's free hand was doing. The shape of her mouth, or anything else for that matter, save for her blue eyes. She had almost none of her usual tells.
She wanted to bolt up and immediately switch on the light, but she knew that this strange, intimate moment wouldn't survive in such an alien presence. There was only one other thing she could do.
Hanukkah.
Her voice was shaky with trepidation.
Is there something else on your mind?
For the first time in minutes. Was it seconds? Hours? How long had they been sitting there? Hanukkah looked away. Umi unraveled her hand from Hanukkah's and brought it up to the other side of her face. Came away wet. You can tell me. Oh, you're... Fuck!
Oh, no, it's fine, it's fine. You can tell me.
Earlier that day, Hanukkah would turn cold with their conversation got okay. If this situation was at all similar to those earlier ones, Umi would have realized that pressing for more information was a bad idea. Perhaps because of the moonlight illuminating only a slant of the room, the real impressive here would be that once they woke up the next morning, all of this would be lost. Some combination of the two, or something else. Umi leaned in. She didn't realize how close they were until their noses almost touched. With a gasp, Umi finally realized the nature of their position. She held Hanukkah with both of her hands, while tears slowly rolled down her face. The two of them lay hardly an inch apart. Hanukkah was staring at her mouth. Her instincts told her to pull back and apologize, but Hanukkah's eyes and her silence indicated otherwise. What did Hanukkah want her to do? Umi leaned in further, never breaking eye contact. She pressed her lips to Hanukkah's cheek, coming away without a sound. She had done something like this before, as a purely friendly or comforting gesture. But here, under the watchful eye of Hanukkah, it was different. It was wet, for one, salty too. But as Umi pulled away, she couldn't help but think about how warm Hanukkah's face was. It was as though that warmth had spread through Hanukkah and into Umi through that one simple action. So simple, yet so implicative. Throughout it all, Hanukkah said nothing. Her eyes had become considerably wiser. The moonlight had set her face in a silver glow. She was now crying freely, silently. Umi couldn't bear to see Hanukkah like this. Her heart tinged. She leaned in again and began to kiss the tears away. Still no response from her. She didn't even move. Her breathing might have become sharper and shallower, but otherwise she simply lay there and let Umi kiss her. She didn't know why exactly. She could have just continued brushing Hanukkah's tears away with her hands, or, better yet, said something to comfort her. But she didn't trust her words at this point. Was this any better? Umi was doing this for her. Was it enough? Perhaps she too was lost in thought, for one of her kisses touched the side of Hanukkah's mouth. She knew by its dryness and the way that its gasp sounded close to Umi's ear. She jerked back, an apology on her own lips. But Hanukkah's face displayed no anger or even bewilderment. Her eyes were simply wide. With surprise, shock, or perhaps even wonder,
Umi didn't know, but it was perhaps more neutral than she would have expected. All the while, Hanukkah reached up to where Umi held her head in her hand. She took one in her own, and when Umi gave her a small nod, she raised her fingers and laid them in her lap. Then Hanukkah closed her eyes and closed up the distance between them once more. This time, she kissed Umi properly. On the mouth, okay. It was Umi's turn for her eyes to go wide. She looked down but could only process Hanukkah's long eyelashes. Her eyes failed her here, since these new, warm, not entirely unwelcome feelings overpowered her. Hanukkah had since stopped crying, but her cheeks were still damp. One of Umi's hands still cupped her face. The light, airy breaths each of them had to take, their fingers tightly interlocked into Hanukkah's lap. And of course, the warm, quiet desperation of Hanukkah's mouth against her own. They were little things. Their lips parted without a sound. Once again, Umi expected one of them to launch into an apology. Stammered words that would fail to explain what they just did. Words that would finally shatter this delicate moment they had been suspended in. Once again, silence won out. Hanukkah took her in with her straightforward eyes, her mouth still slightly open, but if their feelings were at all similar to this one, she was probably scared too. Umi was. She was scared as hell. Hanukkah got up. Their hands were still joined, so Umi stood as well. When Hanukkah sat down on the bed, her back against the wall, Umi was almost pulled down with her. They sat side by side. When Hanukkah's eyes followed the set of Umi's face down to her open mouth, Umi didn't resist. When Hanukkah took her face in her hand and tilted it towards her, Umi didn't resist. When Hanukkah kissed her again gently, Umi closed her eyes and returned it. Umi's desire for either of them to say something, to bring this moment to an end, dissipated into the cold night air. This was what Hanukkah had wanted, so Umi would give it to her. Would it be enough? Is that you, or I love you?
Yeah, it's you.
Sometime at some point during the night, those words had been spoken. Umi wasn't sure how many times, whether they had been whispered hurriedly, said with earnestness, one time after another. She was only sure that she had just heard them in her head, in the middle of this silent, delicate affair. It was Hanukkah. It had to have been Hanukkah. There were her feelings, not Umi's, because Umi didn't want to hear those words. They were too implicit, too much of a reminder that what they did tonight might not be forgotten in the morning. She was doing this for her. The next morning, Umi stirred to the early morning sun, which poked through the blinds and shaked her under her eyelids. She tried to move, but quickly found that she was more or less pinned. She couldn't roll onto the side to escape the sun. She opened her eyes, squinting as she adjusted to the surprising brightness of the room. An arm lay across her. She turned, with what room she was able to. Hanukkah lay next to her, facing Umi but still peacefully asleep. All of the night's memories came flooding back to Umi at the sight. Without thinking, she reached up and touched her two of her fingers to her own mouth. Then came a wait. What?
I'm not gonna say it's unimportant. It's just me being an immature child.
They came away dry. They came in dry, with no indicator of what they had been through the night before. What did she expect? Did they really do all of those things during that tryst? Oh shit. Perhaps that was too strong of a word. They did nothing but kiss, feeling each other in a very modest way. Modest was subjective, of course. Since before last night, Umi hadn't so much as breathed in the direction of potential interest. But clearly she had... Yeah, that seems right. She hadn't been looking in the right places. It would be more accurate to say that she hadn't been looking at all. Of course, she'd missed the writing on the wall if even her closest friend had developed some sort of attraction to her. How long had she felt this way? Was there any writing to miss in the first place? Umi struggled to recall out-of-place instances where Hanukkah had been staring at her with no explanation, asked Umi for romantic advice, or otherwise acted suspiciously. Then again, there were multiple instances of her doing just that yesterday, but they gave no indication of how long these feelings had been inside her. Umi watched Hanukkah's sleeping face. With those same 2 fingers, she touched the other girl's mouth. Warm, but also dry. Once again, they gave no sight as to what happened between them last night. What would Hanukkah say after she woke up? Would she greet Umi with a smile, but make no reference to last night's events? No. It clearly meant too much to her for her to just drop it. If her confession last night was any indicator.
I love you.
Umi flinched at the words echoed in her head, as clear as if they had just been spoken aloud. But Hanukkah continued to sleep the morning away right next to her. That's what she had said. Umi had absolutely no reason to doubt her.
I don't want to interrupt for too long, but did you want Scrappy to take your place? Because you sound like you're dying.
I'm just kind of defeated at this point.
I'll take over, Tanner. You have gone above and beyond for this.
How far?
Thank you.
How much more do we have left?
I mean, we're past that. We're well past the halfway point, but.
Are we still gonna upload this one?
I mean,
Yeah,
we kind of
yes.
have to.
Right.
Let's see. Umi flinched as the words echoed in her head, as clear as if they had just been spoken aloud. But Honoka continued to sleep the morning away right next to her. That's what she had said. Umi had absolutely no reason to doubt her. She was serious about this. So, did that mean she would want more? Most likely. Umi had all but accepted her after all, without so much as a protest. As Umi lay there, the feeling of those gentle, loving kisses washed over her. She didn't know how long it would be until she looked at Honoka's face and... Pardon me. She didn't know how long it would be until she looked at Honoka's face and didn't think of what they did. That morning, in the bright, exposed sunlight of the early morning, the previous night's events seemed less... Oh, for Pete's sake. The previous night's events seemed less hushed, less secretive. They weren't buried or forgotten. In fact, Umi's memories of last night were detailed down to every quiet breath and caress. There would be consequences for her actions. She should have known that. So why did she forget? Or even worse, why did she fly in the face of that fact? It was for Honoka. Umi wanted to give her what she wanted, just for one night. But of course, if her feelings ran as deep as Umi... Pardon me. But of course, if her feelings ran as deep as Umi thought they did, she wouldn't be happy with just that. She would want more. Of course she would want more. And Umi wouldn't be able to give more to her. Umi turned away. The sight of Honoka's sleeping face was grossly inappropriate for what she was thinking. Gently, she eased herself out from under Honoka's arm, breathing a sigh of relief when the other girl didn't stir. She crept towards the door. In the bathroom, she propped both of her hands on the sink and stared into the mirror. Her face was a lot paler than she had realized. She brought a hand up to her eye level. It shook and jittered violently. Oh gosh, oh gosh, oh gosh. What had she been thinking? Under the pale, soft eye of the moon, it might have seemed like a good idea. but her expression in the mirror revealed that it was short-sighted, selfish, and frankly idiotic. She turned on the faucet and splashed cold water on her face. When she looked back up into the mirror, Honika's face stared back at her. Her eyes were puffy, swollen. Her hair stuck out in the oddest places. She mouthed silently, but Umi could read her lips. This is an allegory. Oh gosh. Yeah, I have words for this. Harry, what the heck? You didn't want us.
Wait, what? For what?
You didn't notice how lewd this was gonna get.
This is PG sex. Like, not even sex. This is just PG hand holding.
Yeah.
Wait, where are you right now?
Like, this is the morning after regrets for Umi, basically. I'm like,
Yep.
they don't even. The author is pretty clear on that.
I mean,
kinda
there's,
respect that.
there's no. I mean,
It's not lewd. It's just serious because of the fact that she's leaving.
it's gonna say, cause like, it's very mild, all things considered.
Yes, this is like the most.
I
Like,
wouldn't.
what is- This is nothing. It's the way they frame it that makes it sound serious. Because it is serious. It's just not sexual serious. You didn't tell. Like I didn't. You were not. You still didn't prepare us though. We weren't expecting this.
I mean,
We were expecting Nico shenanigans.
Yeah.
I mean, I did say it was gonna be an important one. I'm not gonna, I can't
Nico's
tell you
important.
everything. It ruins the
This is why-
surprise.
On the one, like, you know, there's advantages to not reading this ahead of time because sometimes we get the rug pulled out from us.
yeah, no,
True.
that's
No, I wouldn't make us read like actual smart.
well, and why am
Yet. I, for one, am happy to read about PG hand-holding. This is great. Oh gosh, this is great. She mouthed silently, but Umi could read her lips. It wasn't worth it. Umi flinched. She reached for the mirror, but by the time her fingers made contact, her own haggard reflection had since taken its place. She did that. Technically, she hadn't yet, but that was surely how Honoka would react when Umi confessed that this was all a mistake. Her own mistake. She couldn't accept Honoka's feelings, not permanently. She just didn't feel that way, even if in this moment she wanted to, if only to avoid the fallout. Honoka's expression in the mirror had been hurt, but more painfully, it was betrayed. Her feelings were a delicate matter, so of course they had to be handled as such. Instead, Umi had treated them like they were disposable, like they could be tossed over her shoulder and forgotten once she was done with them. And she was about to do it again, because she was a coward. Because she didn't know if she could handle seeing that expression again. She left the bathroom, pale and nauseous, for Pete's sake. She left the bathroom, pale and nauseous, a shaking hand covering her mouth. Back in the bedroom, Honoka still hadn't moved. Quickly, before her moral compass forced her to rethink what she was doing, Umi dug into her bag and pulled out her notebook. Once she had a pen and paper, she inhaled deeply. Her writing hand trembled so much that the pen fell out of her grasp and clattered onto the floor. She snatched it back up, glancing at the still sleeping Honoka. She'll understand. She has to understand, for her sake. With her shaking hand, she penned out her message. I'm sorry. Goodbye. By the time she had placed it on her side of the bed, it was lightly stained with tears. With her tears. It was lightly stained with her... Let me reread that. By the time she had placed it on her side of the bed, it was lightly stained with her tears. Silently, she cradled Honoka's peaceful face. It was the last look she would get at... For Pete's sake. It was the Ugh. It was the last look she would get at it for the near future, but she couldn't see it clearly through her tears. She left, crying and without a sound. She couldn't think about it. It was all for the best. That afternoon, she waved. Oh gosh. That afternoon, she waved goodbye to her parents and boarded the train. She had said her goodbyes to the others earlier that week, and as such, no one else showed up. Oof. Honoka never called, messaged, visited. Oh gosh. Honoka never called, messaged, visited. Honoka never called, messaged, visited at her house, for Pete's sake, or appeared at the train station. It was the first time in a long time that she felt truly. It was the first time in a long time that she felt truly alone. By the time she finished, Umi's gaze was affixed firmly to the ground. Her fingers trembled. She curled them into fists. Oh gosh. Her curling them into fists failed to prevent the shaking. While she had left out the most intimate details in her retelling of that night's events, said details had still replayed vividly in her mind as she progressed through the story. How could she forget them? The whispered confessions of love, the feeling of Honika's breath on her cheek, and of course, the kisses. Never before had Umi thought that Honoka would be the one to offer her the... Oh gosh. Never before had Umi thought that Honoka would be the one to offer her those experiences. The same Honoka that had tumbled headfirst into her life when they were kids. The Honoka that she had spent all those years with. She had seen the worst and the best of her alike. She had taken all of it in stride. And never would have imagined an outcome like this. Nico was the first to break the uncomfortable silence. She said what Umi, for Pete's sake. She said what Umi knew was on. She said what. Pardon me. Let me. I just need a moment to collect myself. She said what Umi. I am cursed. She said what Umi knew was on all of their minds in this moment.
You're an asshole!
And there's the catharsis. Thank you, Tanner. Umi clutched at her sweater, but kept her gaze riveted to the floor. She heard multiple gasps and knew that the other two girls had glanced sharply at Nico upon hearing this.
Oh, get her! She knows how badly she fucked up.
Nico folded her arms, glaring in turn at Nozomi and Maki.
You know it too! Don't act like I'm the villain here.
Okay, but you saw how hard it was for her to recount that, Nozomi pointed out. She cast a sympathetic eye at Umi. You can put it less blunt. You can put... I feel your pain, Tanner. You can put it less bluntly. Nico followed Nozomi's gaze, but her face seemed to... For Pete's sake. Nico followed Nozomi's gaze, but her face seemed... Nico followed Nozomi's gaze, but her face seemed to harden further.
Wanted to know our opinions, and I gave her mine. I know what she did, so I'm not concerned about hurting her feelings.
You should teach,
said Maki.
This is a really sensitive topic. Umi didn't trust us with this so you could scorn her.
Nico's glare shifted to Maki.
Scorning her! She needs someone to tell her that. This stuff is not excusable!
Umi looked up. The three girls... Pardon me. Umi looked up. The three girls all stared back at her with varying degrees of apprehension. She sighed. Nico's right. I'm not here for anyone's sympathy.
You.
She turned, exasperated, back towards Umi.
You know, if you've done this to anyone else, I tell you to cut your losses right now. You're here to fix all that, right?
That's a large part of it. Nico wasn't finished.
I mean, you pretended to accept her feelings, and just when she was at her most vulnerable, you abandoned her.
Thank you for putting it so succinctly, Umi sighed. But I didn't pretend to accept them. I really did accept them, just for that night. Nico stared, her mouth open.
I kind of want to punch you.
Oh gosh. Nico-chan, please.
Oh!
Her hand flew up, and Umi jumps. This is so bad. Her hand flew up, and Umi jumped slightly because of Nico's supposed threat.
Me fired, honestly.
She zeroed back in on Umi.
It's also a good thing you waited so long to tell us. If this had happened, say, a month ago, you'd be on the ground by now.
Umi's mouth creased into a tight line. That's good to know.
Yeah, and also, I don't think any of us would have been too sympathetic to you.
Nozomi shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I can't say for sure, but it really sounds like you screwed up. And you have mostly yourself to blame.
It's true that Honoka probably shouldn't have been so bold.
Maki drew the stirring spoon out from her latte, placing it on a napkin.
It sounds like she wasn't thinking, just like you. Hard to blame her for that, though.
You can see.
Nico jerked her thumbs towards them.
You did all that, and you were sure you didn't return any of those feelings?
No, I didn't. I think I would have known.
So why'd you do it?
It would be ridiculous for Umi to not have an answer to this after years of dwelling on it. She knew that, but after a moment, her shoulders slumped, and her hands fell defeated back into her lap. I don't think there was one reason. It was the combination of all these factors. She grimaced at the cold, calculating nature of that world.
Oh, please, tell me what these factors are.
Nico folded her hands in front of her. Before I do, they won't justify what I did, but I still cited them as reasons to leave that morning.
I'm all ears.
Okay, she shook her head, wondering where to start. I wanted to do one last thing for her before I left. I saw her feelings as a way to do that, if only for one night. It wasn't until the morning after that I realized Look, this is the author's words, not mine. It wasn't until the morning after that I realized that I didn't take her feelings seriously enough. And then I started thinking of what would happen when I ultimately rejected her. That what we did the night before shouldn't have happened. It would have been better for us to forget it all. She shook her head. That wasn't entirely correct. That applied to Honoka, of course, but it might have applied to me even more. I think, out of everything else, I was scared. Of our entire future, to put it simply. I was scared of my own feelings, which I still wasn't sure of yet. If I didn't have any feelings for her, then of course temporarily Pardon me. If I didn't have any feelings for her, then of course temporarily Yeah, I'm done. If I didn't have any feelings for her, then of course temporarily accepting hers was uncalled for. But if I did have feelings for her, that might have been even more terrifying. Did that mean I was obligated to take that next step with her? Especially when I was going to be away from her for most of the year? That might have scared me more than anything else. Once I started to imagine all the ways it could go wrong, I tightened up. Those thoughts were overpowering, and, well, it's probably accurate to say that I wasn't thinking straight ever since I showed up at Honeka's house the night before. I didn't even consider how much I could have been hurting Honoka. Even if I did, I probably would have reasoned that it was for the best.
You realize you were wrong. That it wasn't for the best. It sounded...
It sounded like a misleading question, but Umi agreed with the sentiment. As soon as I put the note on her bed, it wasn't too late for me to take it back, but well, it's like I said, I was a coward. Nico shook her head sadly, making a sharp tisking sound all the while.
That's the tragedy of this story. Honestly, what did she see in you?
Oh my gosh. Umi's laugh was humorless. That's what I want to know.
Off the record, you and Hanukkah. Off the record, you and Hanukkah?
Nico pursed her lips.
Kinda weird to imagine.
So it's not just me.
Yeah, I mean, you two are always at odds with each other. You almost never saw eye to eye on anything.
That's not entirely relevant, Nozomi interjected. Gosh. Compatibility or not, Honoka-chan's feelings seemed quite... Honker's feelings seemed quite genuine. You two had been friends for so long and made that work.
Okay, Mega.
I'm not trying to equivocate that with a relationship, but...
Okay, Mega. What'll it be?
It fell through because you just didn't return her feelings.
Maki finished for her.
And you kinda screwed up in showing that.
That's why I said it's off the record.
Nico sighed.
That's my delivery, but... I said it's off the record.
Nico sighed.
Anyway, huge fuck-ups aside, you're here now and trying to make amends. So I guess I can give you that.
Wait,
Maki cut in.
didn't you meet with Hanukkah yesterday? And you said it was fine.
Umi nodded, but then realized that she'd had a second meeting with Honoka last night that Maki was unaware of. Fine was not the first word that came to mind when she thought of that late-night rendezvous.
Are you sure?
It was... She hesitated. Well, it seems like we were friends again. This drew looks of surprise from her two seniors.
Did you talk about any of that stuff?
Nico asked. She gestured towards nothing in particular, but it was clear that she was referring to the events that Umi had just recounted. No.
Did you talk about?
Nico questioned, her voice low. Umi bit her lip and tried to look everywhere except at Nico. She had to word this carefully so as not to further incite her senior. We caught up. She asked me about college. She asked me about... We're almost done. She asked me about college. I asked her about running the shop. We talked a bit about the old days, about how our current lives do or don't match up to that. But like I said, most of all, it seems like she just wanted to be friends again. Nico sat back and Umi sighed with relief.
That makes sense. If she wants to make up with you.
Maki nodded.
If that's the mood she was going for, there's no way she wanted to talk about all that other stuff.
If I met someone for the first time in a few years and I wanted to bury the hatchet, the last thing I'd want to talk about is all those messy mistakes, Nozomi said.
That being said, you need to talk about it soon.
The look in Nico's eyes was fierce.
You left in the worst possible way, and I bet she feels strongly about it.
That's exactly what I'm afraid of.
Cut this afraid bullshit! You've been hiding from her for far too long, and you still don't know how she reacted when she found out you left. Or what she thought of you afterwards. Her true feelings, basically.
She probably doesn't know yours either, Nozomi added.
Exactly. Exactly!
Nico gulped down. I'm done. Nico gulped down the rest of her coffee and stood up so suddenly that her chair rattled.
You guys spent too much time on break. You know what you have to do, Umi?
She walked to Umi's side of the table and gave her a painful slap on the back.
Good luck. You know. Oh, that wasn't a question. Why'd I say? You know what you have to do, Umi. You know what you have to do, Umi. Jesus.
She walked to Umi's side of the table and gave her a painful slap on the back.
Good luck.
She is just at a perpetual 11.
Yep.
When Nico reappeared behind the counter and greeted the waiting... Oh gosh, she probably went into full Nico Nee mode when she was with the customer.
Yeah, just like he immediately puts on a smile.
When Nico reappeared behind the counter and greeted a waiting customer, she wore a rehearsed smile, of course. She wore a rehearsed smile that was slightly uncomfortable to watch. Umi's back stung where Nico had hit her. Ouch, she muttered. Nozomi turned back to her with a nervous smile. Sorry about that, Umi-chan. Nico Chi's well, you know.
She defended Honoka to the death if she had to.
Maki clarified.
She probably feels indebted to her, in a way.
Aren't we all? Nozomi shrugged. This is our former leader we're talking about. It's no problem, Umi said as she ran a careful hand across her back. She's right. I probably needed to hear a lot of that. It took you a while, but it's good to see that you're finally ready to face your mistakes. I'm not looking forward to it, but yes, I couldn't have run forever. Yeah, I'm Umi and Nozomi's voices are just merging. What? What now?
Me before every episode of Storytime with Scrappy. Hey, if I'm gonna criticize, you might as well let me jab at this show while before it improves.
Oh, that's cute. You think we're improving? This is a
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna say that implies we're gonna improve.
You know what? You guys will improve, or my name isn't Nico. And it isn't, so you won't.
This is a show brought to you by Bethesda, and you're the beta tester, Tanner.
Oh lord.
Yeah, I'm gonna set you straight, Todd. Listen, please. This is the 7th time this week you have brought in Skyrim. Please go. We didn't even schedule this meeting. You just break in. We were already in the middle of something.
Oh lord.
You know, how come we don't... Let's read some Elder Scrolls fan fiction next episode. I think we need a break from this. It is.
That's a bit of a random choice.
We could open that if we open it with like an Elder Scroll, like open it with a parody of one of us like waking up on the wagon.
We'll look into this.
There's no way we have the budget for that unless we wanted to look like a Channel Awesome skit.
And we've come full circle finally.
Which means we'd have to drag it out for way longer than the joke needs.
Oh yeah, for those who are wondering what the heck Tanner's talking about, in our test test audio run, we're discussing Channel Awesome briefly. So.
Oh yeah.
There's your brick joke.
Are we any better?
I mean, we have, like, as far as I know, we haven't, like, you know, turned the other, what's the word? How do I put this without sounding like a dick?
It's Doug Walker, do you care?
It depends on the conduct. I care depending on the conduct. In this case, we are not the same because we didn't, you know, turn a blind eye to abuse allegations. As far as I know.
Nobody expects anything from us.
You know, that's... I guess that's... I mean, we have no power, which means we can't abuse it, so I guess that's good.
And before this becomes like the most popular show on the
No,
on
it's
YouTube.
This episode is just gonna be put in cringe compilations and shit.
Yeah,
I mean,
and you're
it's a-
gonna be the one who makes the compilations because, of course, you
Yeah.
would.
It's just the whole episode.
I like the idea of me making a cringe compilation of something I was in. And then
That is the most
pretending
Tanner
like I-
thing.
That, yeah, that's probably just my. That is my essence, in general.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant.
Okay. Alright, we're finally sounding like a normal episode again, because we were sounding a little glum.
Yeah. You know what? I've got my sass back.
Yeah, I think I got some of my mojo back. I think you needed that little spiel with Nico, just
I needed that. I needed that to fuel me. It's a character. It's weird. It's so. I think, okay. From now on, if I can establish something, if somebody has several characters, they can't also narrate because there's no way. Or if they have a character that's prominently featured, let's not.
That's fair.
Unless you're a really talented actor, which is, I'm like a halfway talented actor. So if we can't, if the character is prominently featured, the person playing that character cannot also be narrator.
Fair
Because
enough.
it is very difficult to switch into character and then switch back to narrator.
Right.
Unless, and once again, I know some actors who are talented enough to switch characters on the fly, but I am not one of them.
well, we didn't call you in for narration. That was kind of impromptu, and we thank you for taking it up. Also, Nova, you are like you're trying to say something. We've been cutting you off.
I'll do the narration from here on out for this story until we finish it.
Okay.
Bless you. Oh gosh. This is episode 6 of currently 9, but this is meant to be like an 11-part chap story.
I am
but
trash at
Yeah.
this game.
And warning to the viewers, the last 2 chapters aren't finished yet. The author's still working on them.
Yeah.
This is
yeah, so much like my story, there's your obligatory plug. We're basically ending without it being complete.
By the way, did we finish the chapter, or?
No, we're just the chapter's finished with us, Harry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, I'm finished with this goddamn show.
No, you're not.
No, wait, can I not leave?
No. Much like a glitched area of Skyrim, you cannot actually leave.
I just try to walk out and I clip through the floor of my stairs.
Alright, I think
This
we should.
is...
I think we should just get through the rest of this because we're like putting it off now.
Okay.
We're putting it off because we're tired.
We're almost there.
Short stories next time.
Yeah.
It took you a while, but it's good to see that you're finally ready to face your mistakes, said Nozomi. I'm not looking forward to it, but yes, I couldn't have run forever.
You walked out on your best friend and holed yourself up for 5 hours away at college because of it. Maki muttered.
Maki muttered.
More to herself than Umi. Suddenly, a 2-year absence becomes a little less crazy.
Mega Man.
Okay, Meg, are you sure?
It wasn't entirely for the purpose of shutting myself away.
Already.
She turned to Nozomi.
What I said earlier is still true. It's pretty easy to lose track of time when you're living away from home. Oh, I believe you.
Nozomi said.
You just have a bit more to catch up on, for Honoka-chan and for the rest of us.
Umi realized that, for all they talked about yesterday, she missed out on a few crucial details about her oldest friend.
Okay, Meg.
Pardon me, I just started scrolling down and I lost track. here we are. How has Honoka been, by the way? From how shocked everyone looked, it seemed like she didn't tell anyone about us.
The two girls just exchanged a glance.
Well,
Nozomi started.
she'd never mention it. She'd never mention you unless I asked her about it. When I realized that she didn't know anything about your college life either, that's when I started to suspect that something might be up. You two wouldn't just stop talking just like that. But other than that, I had no clue about either of you really. Whenever I visited her at the shop, she'd always ask me about how I was doing. Never any interest in talking about herself. My life's not that interesting, but somehow she made it work every time I visited.
She smiled wryly.
She's kind of become a mystery, and she won't let me figure it out.
She's kind of the same way in the group chat. Maki glanced at her phone, which until now lay dormant on the table. She'll ask about everyone's day, but never talk about her own. And when she's not part of a conversation about someone else, she's linking silly videos for the rest of us to laugh at. Maybe that's how she spends her free time?
This description is of me, and I don't like it. So Honoka's been good at it. Excuse me. Oh gosh. Bear with me, folks. So Honoka's been good at hiding it.
Umi thought about yesterday's conversation on the rooftop. For now, that secret was still theirs to keep.
There's probably more to it than what she's showing.
She said with this in mind.
That's pretty clear now. Still, out of the few times she did mention you, I never picked up any resentment or ill will.
Nozomi said as she stared into her empty coffee cup.
That doesn't mean she's forgiven you 100%, but...
It's not a bad place to start, Maki added.
Yeah, I hope so too.
Umi offered both girls a smile. Nozomi tilted her head. Apparently, her interests had already shifted elsewhere.
Why'd you come back, Umi-chan?
Umi's smile vanished.
Didn't I just spend all of Nico's break time explaining that? No, why'd you come back now? Was that explanation not satisfactory for you?
Umi sighed.
It was more than satisfactory, but it doesn't account for the song. You come back and tell everyone you're writing a song. What's up with that? Why is that so suspicious?
Umi asked, confused.
You haven't written any music since we called it quits. I had no reason to. Exactly!
Nozomi raised a finger in the air.
Something must have pushed you towards songwriting again. I just can't see you saying, I felt like it, and that's all there is to it. That's a grotesque simplification of what happened.
Umi qualified.
So there is more to it than that.
Nozomi's eyes were gleaming.
Yes.
She looked towards Maki. Her junior nodded, encouraging her to continue.
To make a long story short, I've been having these recurring dreams for the past year. Once the details became clear to me, I wrote them into the song, and I want to see it through to the end. That's the other reason why I'm here now. Nozomi let out a short whistle. I can't whistle. Must have been a hell of a dream. It was. Are you still having those dreams? Umi paused just as she was... Oh, wait. Sorry, Tent Nova.
Umi paused just as she was about to confirm this fact. She realized it was quite the opposite.
I haven't had one since I wrote down the lyrics. That's so.
Nozomi nodded to herself, but her brow remained furrowed.
How mysterious.
Maki looked somewhat surprised. I didn't know that.
I hadn't thought about it until now.
Umi shrugged. Oh, speaking of which, Maki jabbed at her fork at Umi. almost done writing. Umi was taken aback.
With all the parts?
Yeah, I couldn't show you yesterday since I only have a piano and guitar in my house. I made a lot of progress since then anyway.
That's wonderful!
For the first time that day, a genuine, uninhibited smile graced Umi's face.
You're really something else, Maki.
Really, it's nothing. The redhead waved away the compliment. We're trying to secure recording sessions for the day after Christmas.
So soon?
They're talented players and fast learners. Nozomi, who had been observing the conversation intently, said,
Sounds like the fruits of sounds like the fruits of your labors are coming together, Umi-chan. That's one way to put it.
Umi rubbed the back of her neck, but her smile persisted.
Can I hear it?
Her senior asked.
When it's finished, yes.
Hopefully, it'll be before this week is over. Maki thumbed through her phone's notes. I should have a set time by tonight.
That's right, we're still meeting up to see the That's right, we're still meeting up to see the lights.
Umi said.
Are you seeing them with Honoka-chan?
Nozomi raised an eyebrow.
Yes, the two of us will be going with I'm so done, pardon me. Yes, the two of us will be going with Kotori. We'll meet up with you too, but I hope you have fun. Don't be afraid if the opportunity is right.
Nozomi reached out and patted Umi's shoulder. Umi knew what, or rather, who she was referring to.
I think it's still too soon.
The coffee churned in her stomach.
That doesn't just apply to pardon me. That doesn't apply to just tonight.
Her senior shrugged.
It's timeless advice.
Umi wasn't entirely convinced.
Thanks.
She said, regardless. I really think Hanukkah should hear the song now. Maki was still going through her phone.
And why is that?
Maki shot her a look. It's your song, Umi. You can figure it out. Umi sunk down closer to the table and sighed. It was unsettling to think that Maki knew about her song than she did. But that was part of the songwriting process, right? She hoped so, although she had never had an experience like this when she wrote for Muse. Her thoughts drifted to tonight, Christmas Eve. Tonight would be fun, even if Nico's advice would be bouncing around her head the whole time.
Waiting this entire chapter. Hello?
Hello.
There.
No, I checked out.
I have to go to the bathroom. I've been waiting this entire chapter.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, go Tanner. We'll wait up on you. Don't worry.
In Chapter 6, this is what happened.
Thank you, narrator number 3. That is we've switched narrators mid-chapter before, but never gone through 3 for the same chapter. Goodness gracious. Yet, if I sound out of breath, because I am. And I didn't even do that much reading tonight. Truth be told, this isn't even our longest episode.
No, I think you guys are just kind of out of it today. I don't think it's really the story's fault.
It's a long chapter, Harry. It was.
Well, even then, like, we've gone through way longer.
I mean, I feel like I made my lack of endurance clear with other chapters. Not sure about Tanner though. He did seem a little.
Well, even then, like,
tired.
I think it's a lot down to just mood because, again, you guys have gone through way worse and not you guys kind of just like died like halfway through, so I don't know.
We've admittedly been doing this pretty. We've been doing this back to back on a week by week basis. It may behoove us to actually take a 2-week break sometime.
I suppose.
Yeah, I mean, granted, I do take a lot of enjoyment in narrating, but honestly, I feel like perhaps for your sake and possibly for Tanner's sake as well, that it's best that you take a 2-week break.
Yeah, we don't need to do this every week. Oh lordy.
Yeah, but what will I do on Mondays? I'm bored, to be honest. I don't have anything else to do on Monday nights.
Okay.
Welcome back, Tanner.
Are we still recording? Because I need to talk about something.
We're still recording.
Yeah, is it chapter finished or?
Yeah.
Chapter's done.
Okay, fair enough. What did you want to say?
Wait, is it stop recording? 'Cause
No, I'm still recording.
Yeah, get your final feedback out quickly, and then we can have a private talk.
what's the best chapter? This is really touching. I don't know the material very well. But really, any character having to deal with and make amends for something they regret is up my alley. And being in denial about their I like that Nico was the one to be blunt enough to say, okay, this is a problem.
Yeah, it would be Nico out of those.
Like, despite her fuckhead, crackhead energy, despite her bluntness kind of comes in, is useful to her here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
The scene with the two of them, with Hanukkah and Umi together, that was really touching.
One thing I like about Nico in this is that sometimes you do need to have that blunt arse of a friend to just like put things into perspective and realize how much of a tosh you're being.
Oh yeah. And it's a really relatable feeling, worrying that you might never see someone again.
Yeah.
And wondering if they'll be the same person whenever you do see them again.
Yeah.
And even though what Umi did was wrong, you totally get why she did it. It's understandable. She couldn't handle being able to
Doctor,
all of those
is
emotions at
something wrong?
once and kind of ran away out of fear.
Yeah,
You know
it's
how to
very easy
run.
to get caught up in emotions like that.
Day, Wiley
Yeah.
and I had our falling out. He quite literally threw a wrench in our gears.
Some stronger profanity that I wasn't expecting, and yeah, it just took me by surprise.
Each of us was
Keiko seems like she'd say fuck
forging
though.
the way
Yeah, in my
Yeah.
in my joking fanfiction headcanon, maybe. Have you read my horrible headcanon text about when Harry and I watched Love Live?
to humankind at
Oh.
No.
Good.
Naive as
Nico
always.
definitely seems like the type
Even
like
robots
most
that think for
likely to say
themselves will never
fuck.
be anything more than tools.
She is just what's that girl's name from Cats Don't Dance? She's just Darla from Cats Don't Dance.
Outdo humans.
I hate that I see a
People
little
will
of myself
truly
in
accept
her.
robots for what they are.
Apparently you guys saw it too.
And with my double gear
Look,
system, we can make
you had so much fun voicing Junior that I think that Nico would kind of radiate the same energy wavelength. So
Yeah, kinda.
However,
I mean, you guys seem to
I
think I'm
was
doing a good
strongly
job.
opposed to Wiley's
yes,
idea.
It's
'cause you
very
are doing a good
entertaining.
job.
It's entertaining, yeah.
Double gear
It
system.
emanates
It puts an
Nico
incredible
energy.
strain on the robots that use it. And if it fell into the wrong hands, it could be used to cause terrible harm. At the time,
that it,
a
or-
committee was convened.
Well, I'm kind of just
Wiley's research was
this
in
playing
favor
to see
of
if you
my
guys have
independent
anything else to
thought
say about
research.
it.
Yeah, author laid it on pretty thick here.
Grown ever
This
more
is-
extreme since then.
The allegories are,
My
what's the word?
efforts to quench
The implications
my
are
head
pretty
was
clear.
led him
Yeah.
astray. Only
And I mean,
And this is technically only the halfway point of the story, so
Umi said herself that
I never knew.
that her version was a
Only I'd
simplified.
shown him
Was
there was a way
simplified.
to work together.
So we all know what
Instead of
really
just
happened.
telling him that he was wrong. Maybe we'd still be friends.
Wait, to work together.
I'm not even I'm not even sure if she was.
Even the double
I don't
gear
even know.
system
Umi's
can
like
be a tool for good
she's what's the
if
word?
used properly.
Persnickety enough to even keep out just basic details like caressing hair.
Judgment.
She's the person who would consider anime handholding to be lewd.
Technology
Yeah.
to make any robot into a hero.
Like she might have been actually telling the truth with the narration there.
I'm trusting you, Mega Man.
Ugh.
I almost forgot something very important. I've just finished
Yeah,
giving Rush
well,
a
I am-
tune-up. He's all
good
ready to
chapter.
head out with you.
The way some of the quotes were not quotes, dialogue was formatted kind of threw me off, but I'm not. It might be grammatically correct, and I just don't know
Yeah,
that.
it's hard to know
style.
sometimes whether it's something is a mistake or a creative decision.
Yeah, and that is, as Tanner so clearly alluded to earlier, is why you have a designated reader, a pre-reader in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you?
Do you want me to give critique here or when the cameras are off?
Well, before we do that, what about Nova? Because you've been very silent for this.
Well, like honestly, like even I never had to, like I've never had to struggle to whether or not I should immediately reject someone before, but there were, although I do feel like Ottermelon was able to effectively convey some of the feelings that come with someone feeling so strongly about you, but you don't really feel the same way about them.
The abject awkwardness of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I
And-
think this is so uncomfortable.
yes,
For the
yeah, so
awkwardness of all of this.
yeah, so like I said, even though I never had to reject anyone before in my life, it actually still does connect with me in a indirect way, like last chapter, because there was, to put it simply, there was a time to where I was questioning how I really felt about someone, and even though their feelings for me didn't lessen, so it did at least connect with me a little bit.
We're good here, or?
Well, what about you, Harry?
I pretty much echo most of that. It was nice getting to see like the reason why Umi broke contact with the entire group for so long. And yeah, I don't know. I basically mirror what you guys have already said. The fact that Nico is basically Umi's wake up call to the whole situation, and yeah, it's definitely not a kind of situation I've been in, but it was. I like the way it was handled. Very maturely written, I'd say, and I think they conveyed the emotions fairly well for what they were going for.
I'd just like to point out that Umi was like literally not licking, but consuming Honoka's tears. To get them away.
No, that's something. Yeah, I've seen that kind of thing before.
Also, Tanner, you said the word memories earlier, but the way you said it, I heard memories, and in context, it didn't entirely. It kind of made sense in context too.
What? I mean, you call her honkers, so.
Loads of people
I call her honkers because I can't pronounce the name properly, and also there's a dead or alive character named Honoka.
I mean, if it makes you feel it,
the same is.
If it makes you feel any better, Scrappy, the fan base nicknames Honoka honkers anyway.
Yeah, and then dead or alive girl, it's just like I should not even be conflating the two because. Oh yeah, there's a dead or alive character named Nico as well. So.
Oh god! Wow.
Oh no! You know what? I can't be Nico because I'm 6'2".
Short jokes, cause. Yeah. Yeah. We need an apology list just for everything. Christine Chandler, we're sorry. People with schizophrenia, we are sorry. To Tanner, I am sorry that you got dragged into this.
Everyone that watches this show, we are sorry.
I think. Okay, we gotta come up with some slogans. Story time with Scrappy. We apologize in advance.
Yeah, okay. That'll work. Let's see. Short people? Short people, we're sorry.
I apologize on behalf of all tall people for existing. I feel like I'm just a bad representation of you guys. But we got basketball players, so.
Cooper football players.
Okay,
Kidnap
so
princess.
We got any other feedback, or are we checked out yet?
What I can think of right now, I mean, I like the cafe setup. I like the idea of like sitting down at a cafe and just kind of reminiscing about like the past with friends and stuff. Like that's I like that kind of setup, and I think it worked well here. And Nico being like technically on the clock is an amusing side thing.
Yeah. The author actually mentions in their notes that you mentioned this cafe setting being like set up for the backstory, but the Ottermelon themselves seems like they kind of not quite apologetic, but observant. That kind of took a while to get to the proper crux of the main conflict of the story, like halfway through.
Yeah.
I guess if I have any serious criticisms, waiting halfway through to reveal the real plot isn't really a flaw in and of itself, but
I think
in general, brevity would probably be appreciated for some of these chapters. I hope like 7, 8, 9 have already been written.
I do think that there is a lot of looseness to writing. Like I don't think there's one specific like correct way to write something.
Yeah.
And I do
There
enjoy
is
the slower paced world building that goes with this, and I I tend to gravitate more towards that stuff because it's easier for me to get invested into it rather than something that is super fast paced. It throwing a bunch of stuff in your face constantly without any
It's that.
warning, or it just doesn't slow down basically. Like I can
This- I know exactly what you're talking about, and
Right.
I'm keeping my tongue. I'm holding my tongue and holding my tongue.
I mean
Yeah,
I'm not
that's great.
I'm not saying that you can't have something faster paced, and I do enjoy that stuff as well when it's like done right. But I feel like a story like this does benefit from being on the slower side, because I feel like if Watermelon rushed through a lot of this, it wouldn't really stick the landing as well.
Uh-huh.
Well, if I actually performed my actual duty and read the chapters on my own ahead of time, maybe I'd be more inclined to agree.
I mean, I do have the benefit of reading. I've already read through the story before, so I do have some kind of like hindsight on my side.
Reading alone is usually faster than reading in what's essentially LARPing for us.
Yeah, I suppose. That's basically my piece, though.
I'd hope now that the real not plot points, real crux of the main conflict has been revealed, that the interactions go a bit more smoothly from here on out.
Oh, it's gonna get it's gonna get heavier.
Oh gosh.
Oh boy.
Look, I cannot. Like, this chapter already had mood whiplash with backstory and Nico being an asshole. Like, I couldn't keep. You heard me breaking it down at some point.
Oh, I know. I'm not gonna give things away, but Lewis has also caught up with the story as well, and I remember him telling me that he had to like stop reading after like one of the upcoming chapters, because like it was just like I remember even me, like I was like kind of broken after that.
Alright, I'm interested to see where this goes now.
Yeah,
This
I'll just leave it at
chapter
that.
7 is slightly shorter than chapter 6, so yeah, we'll get through it. And to those at home, pardon.
I was gonna say quickly, I don't blame you guys if you do want to take like, if you want to do it again in like 2 weeks' time.
That's up to Nova and Tanner.
I'm very excited because now that I know we're all, because once again this show's fun, even if there are things yes, I'm being passive aggressive.
Well, you muttered it under your breath, so lucky me, or lucky you rather.
We do have some issues working because I'm having fun with this show. I have
Yeah,
fun doing voice acting of any kind.
I'm fine
the-
with whatever you guys want to do.
I enjoy gathering here on Monday. Don't let my utterly exhausted tone fool you.
But
Yeah, narration is not going to be done by me for next episode because, no, I try to value your time sensibly.
If you need coffee or something during this, then go ahead.
oh yeah, that'll
Would
be
you
good.
believe me if I said I actually don't drink coffee ever?
Oh, well,
No,
fair
I know
enough.
people like that. I know people like that.
I mean, I don't drink coffee, so...
It's weird. I used to.
I get my caffeine through exuberant amounts of soda.
used
I'm going
to
to
make-
die a horrible death.
Oh.
And that's no good for your voice. I used to make fun of people who drank all black coffee, but one night when I needed to stay up really late and didn't have time to mix anything, I started drinking all black, and I drank enough of it to the point I'm like, not bad.
You know, I have to like I'm a very bad sweet tooth. Like I don't have sweets often because I kind of have to like stop myself from buying that stuff a lot because when I start eating it I just can't stop.
Oh, there are certain foods. You know those Little Debbie like strawberry cake rolls?
I
Uh,
think I think.
I could eat. I could, if I had the choice, if it were better for my health, I would have. I would make my entire diet just that.
Yeah.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Hey, what was your favorite
That
episode of Story Time with Scrappy? Mine's the one where they talked about food.
Yeah, because it's like I like eat a bunch of like sweets and stuff, and then I hate myself like an hour later because I like because I feel sick.
Oh, totally, totally.
Anyways, did you wanna like critique or something?
Yeah, but are we gonna stop the cameras here or?
I feel
I
like
will.
this should be I feel like this should be put on record.
Oh no, no!
Really?
Now the audience can hold it against us.
Yeah.
That will be terrible.
Don't keep these. Really? Really now? All right.
This is gonna be like that one Collider podcast where the dude just kept yelling at everyone because he didn't get to go to oh god, what was it? Point is, he didn't get to go to like the Star Wars amusement park, and he was pissed.
Oh, Galaxy's Edge.
Oh yeah.
He didn't get to go to Galaxy's Edge, so he was pissed at the members who did get to go. I have to send you that, and it made the podcast super awkward for everyone.
Oh wow.
But anyway, one thing is that in order to prevent the stammering, which is gonna happen, we're only human, and sometimes those fuck-ups can be funny. Oftentimes they are. However, if the show's consisting entirely of that, there's a problem. And I get it, especially on first readings. And I think one thing we can try doing is we could all do this together if we find the right time. Vocal warm-ups.
Oh, that's a fair point.
Doing vocal
Tab,
warm-ups.
you-
What?
Oh, go on.
Because if you do vocal warm-ups, it makes your enunciation better. You can speak more clearly. Honestly, it'll increase the range of emotions you can show because it'll also relax you.
Hmm.
And I'm criticizing myself. I feel like my performances here felt more forced, and that might be because I was switching characters or because I was forcing myself. I'm sort of trying to force myself because I did so well that one time that I'm trying to recreate that when I really shouldn't be doing that.
Yeah, you did
Because
have
What?
you did have moments during this where it did sound like you were completely out of it.
Yeah, and if I force it, then it's not believable. It just sounds like
Right.
I'm reading something.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm taking this a bit too seriously.
No, it's understandable. Like reading is there's more
And
to it than people realize.
And I think, once again, the rule should be if there's a prominent character... Okay, new rule. Okay, if there's a prominent character, that person also can't narrate.
Fair enough.
Because it's hard to switch between. I mean, again, I know actors talented enough to do that. That's not us.
If only we had more people here.
I think
I could go on a long rant about that, Harry, but let's this is not a.
vocal inflections will help us be able to enunciate more clearly, and a lot of this is on me because a lot of it is that I was, and I'm sorry for making it so awkward earlier when I started getting grumpy and dejected. But I think a lot of that is my current mood right now. I've been unsure of myself, and I realize that I can't do that. I can't have uncertainty when I'm doing something. Because once you have that uncertainty, you can't really efficiently portray a character if you're just constantly questioning how you should say things. That's another thing. We just need to, if we mess up, just roll with it, you know?
That's
There is
fair.
no need to apologize. Just roll with it. Well, okay. If it's funny to break character, we can break character.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say?
And overall, yeah, finding out casting these a bit beforehand and maybe skimming through the chapter. Obviously, we don't want to go through the whole thing because part of it, the fun, is the surprise.
If there's one thing I can say about your narration, Scrappy, is that sometimes it does feel like you wanna kind of rush through a sentence sometimes.
Oh, I do
like
that too.
like it's like if you're struggling a bit, it's okay to slow down for a minute.
Yes.
Because like you do seem to have that issue a lot.
I think working on our enunciation will help. And once again, some of this was the initial awkwardness, and the point is, I'm trying to prevent that, and I hope I don't sound like I'm being too stern. Like, we need to take this seriously.
No,
you know.
No, I get where you're coming from. Like, exercising our vocal cords would probably be a good idea.
And also, we can't really do much about the connection.
I mean, the connection is like another issue, really.
That's not something we can control, but overall we need a little more preparation, I feel.
It's amazing because it's amazing because like connection-wise, it hasn't really been an issue today, but OBS just decided, I need to like I need to keep the trend up. Let's screw everything up.
Yeah. So honestly, it's better if we start It would be fun if we just started playing off any fuck-ups in character. If we're, like, reading a line as a character, that could be fun.
Oh, I enjoyed your thing in the last chapter, I think, where it was, like, just imagining Nico screwing up her lines.
Yeah, because it felt right for her.
I think that was 2 chapters ago. That's how long we've been doing this.
Yeah, but overall, does anyone agree with me that...
Yeah, no preparation.
Lack of confidence in what I was doing?
Or attempt to read quickly because, well... Wait, what were you saying, Tanner?
I think at points I felt like I had lack of confidence in my performances. And once again, I know I'm critiquing serious thing on a fucking fanfic reading show.
No, it's fine. I can relate to that a lot. Like, I feel very self-conscious when I'm reading, especially like when I do like I have to do character voices. Like I felt like extremely like awkward when I had to do Rin for like 2 lines.
Well, no, and I think the problem is for me. If I can just say my lines and roll, that's fine. But Nico and Hanako were so prominent that it got a bit difficult for me to switch between narrator tone, Nico tone, Hanako tone.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, that's just because of my limited abilities as an actor. And I'm probably taking this too seriously, saying, oh, I'm a true actor when I'm reading fucking fanfiction, but...
Again, I feel like a lot of the issue with that comes with our low staff. Like, we don't have many people here.
The fact that none of us are girls...
That too.
Look, we have one woman in our Discord friend group, and she doesn't like Love Live, so
yeah,
we're up a creek. I'm not happy about it, and neither are you. And yes, on the topic of reading quickly, yes, that's always been my Achilles heel in school. When in my television production class in high school, it's just I talk fast, I want to get it over with. And this is a long chapter with long sentences, and as I screw up, and I will try to slow down because my lungs can't take it.
I feel like finding like a middle ground that you're comfortable with would help, because the thing is with that, like, if you try like forcing yourself to rush through, but you end up making like a bunch of mistakes anyway. Like that's gonna end up making it longer at the end of the day.
I'm gonna head out because I have to go right now. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm glad. Let's take all this into account. You know,
You're right.
honestly, keeping this recorded was good.
Yeah.
Great. Now our audience actually has expectations of us.
I mean, if I wasn't the one having to like record, I mean, I could try being the narrator, but that would completely screw everything up because people would just be looking at like a static screen.
Well, no, I'll just remember that if you guys ever mess up, I will kick you in the shins.
So
Just
where?
imagining you like just appearing like
Yeah,
at my door now.
That's the thing is, I also know that I'm not funny, and I need to stop making stupid jokes during all this.
You're funnier than us.
Is that really a high bar, though?
You're lucky that we have very few others who are willing to do this.
And I know I don't want to come off as an asshole when I'm like just snarking on this show.
I mean, to be fair, we kind of deserve it.
And I hope I haven't.
It comes from a place of sincerity. It's fine.
I don't want to come off as someone who's desperately just trying too hard to be funny.
Yeah, it's my job. Oh gosh, I'm too tired to even self-deprecate. Oh,
Oh
We
god.
just accept that none of us are funny.
I mean, I've accepted that like years ago.
Alright. Well, good talk.
so
Genuinely took something away from all this. And I hope I haven't been... I just don't want my snarkiness to become where it seems like I'm being a dick.
I have to go through all these episodes to transcribe dialogue. If I notice, I'll let you know.
So far?
What now?
Has it so far come up like I'm being a dick?
Not to me.
Well, I've only transcribed 4 episodes, and they were the early ones when you were mostly just reading my stuff, so I don't have a good, accurate bar.
I would say you've been fine. I haven't really.
You've been fine, mostly.
I haven't I haven't really had that kind of feeling.
Scrappy.
What now?
See how it is.
Look, if you dish it, you gotta learn how to take it.
No, I know. You're totally right, though.
That's funny.
Okay, so in 1 or 2 weeks, depending on my mood, because that's literally how this show runs, we will resume with Chapter 7, and hopefully we'll have actually sorted out all the character roles at that point, and maybe, just maybe, we'll get a 5th member to come in.
If we can get Lewis, that would be great.
If we can get a woman, that'd be great.
Hey, it's small steps. Small steps.
For Pete's sake, Harry. I can't hit my voice. What now?
I was just about to make a dumb joke.
I can't pitch my voice up for Katori anymore. I could never do it to begin with, really. But oh gosh,
I am
no.
comfortable being Nico for as long as you need me to be Nico.
I like how we just slowly corrupted you into this. This is great.
Oh, so fun. She's so fun to play.
Alright.
All I know. What did you say?
There are certain...
Huh?
Yeah, I look forward to you reading Junior every time we get a chance. Every time he shows up in a story, it's yes. Oh yeah. By the way, I've outlined chapter 6 of my story. By the way, so it's coming eventually.
Oh.
Is that the Mario?
Yes, my masterpiece.
Oh, your greatest achievement.
Only achievement, really, but
One of your greatest achievements.
Alright.
yeah, Tanner, get your vocal cords ready because you unfortunately will have to be doing double duty for a lot of characters.
I feel like I was born to play both of the Wario brothers, to be honest.
And you'll be playing Luigi as well, and Junior for like his 5 lines of dialogue for that chapter.
If you don't make a Luigi breaking bones joke, I'll be very disappointed.
Actually funny is if Waluigi just sounds like Waluigi, but Luigi still says, should I do more Martinet Luigi, or should I stick to the voice I've been using?
I'm fine with either. Like, if you want to, like, honestly, you can do whatever because Luigi's just funny under you.
Oh, thank you.
Alright.
What
Like,
was that weird rant I went on about, like, John Leguizamo?
Yeah, I remember that.
I vaguely do.
I'm not sure what the whole point of that was.
It was funny, and I'm tempted to if my story wasn't kind of hard on keeping real world references out, I would probably put that in.
Luigi channeling the powers of John
Oh.
Leguizamo during the final battle.
Oh my god! Like, I could easily do like a multiverse thing and have like the actual movie Mario Brothers show up at some point.
Yes.
Oh god.
Or maybe Luigi's favorite movie is The Pest, and nobody agrees with him because it's not a good movie.
All right, on the topic of Luigi's voice, you're free to do whatever, but I guess as far as I personally see it, Martinet Luigi works for a more canon Luigi. For my disturbed, massacre, misinterpretation, Mama Luigi works.
The weird guy who ties people up in his basement, breaks their bones, and makes them watch The Pest.
Exactly.
Honestly, you could just, if you wanted to include a reference, just make Luigi's favorite movie The Pest.
I'll look into it.
Okay, that movie, if you see the opening to that movie, it's... Oh boy. Oh boy.
I do think we should start wrapping up though, because we've been like talking about all this stuff for a while.
Welcome to the John Leguizamo podcast. Today we're talking about his role in John Wick.
Okay, do we have any like serious final comments before we stop now?
Harry, this is story time with Scrappy and friends. Nothing is serious except for all the episodes where it suddenly gets serious. We thank you folks for putting up with my bullcrap for another week. You know, maybe I should stop self-deprecating so much. It's just...
It's honestly at a certain
It's been a hard year.
Speaking from experience, at a certain point, it stops being jokes and it just starts becoming concerning. And you just start bullying yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean,
You know,
still, you gotta do it once in a while, because if you don't, that's the opposite problem. It shows you take yourself too seriously, you're up your own ass, and you can't laugh at yourself.
Alright, let's try it again.
Okay.
Thank you folks for being a part of our... what's the word? Thank you folks for letting us into your homes once again. This has been Story Time with Scrappy and Friends. We will likely reconvene next week to watch, read, till we make our Ascent, Chapter 7, and hopefully get another person out to join us.
Or two, that would be good. And my final comment is this is episode 13 of Storytime. So insert dumb Kingdom Hearts joke here.
See, I was thinking more this is a bad luck episode because everything that could go wrong has gone wrong.
That too. Okay, well I'm done. Tana, know if you got anything?
Tanner,
Nothing
The
else.
show.
this but unironically. Is everyone good?
Yeah.
Alright, and this is the end of our 20 minutes farewell segment.
The 20-minute farewell segment. Tune in next week for... By the way, tune in soon for my podcast where I review all movies John Leguizamo has appeared in.
I will
I'd
leave
be a
it.
part of that podcast.
I will leave it with that, I guess. Okay, see you guys
Yep.
later.
Bye, folks.
Bye.